This video is about which transaction type to use when you have a child who has been terminated and needs to be recertified. When you open their WIC intake screen to start the recertification, you'll see that they are terminated because there is a letter D in the top right. Their certification dates are grayed out, and there is a term date. Before you can do anything else, the first step is to make their record active again. There are 3 different transaction types you might use to make the record active again: recertification, reactivation, or reinstate. The first step to choosing the correct transaction type for a terminated child is to check their certification dates. You can see these on either the WIC intake screen or the family summary screen. It's actually the certification end date that you'll use to determine which transaction type is the right one to make the terminated child active again. Let's take a look at this calendar. On it, we have left off the actual month names, but let's pretend that this day is today. For the terminated child, you'll look at their cert end date and then decide if it's in a current, future, or past month. Let's look at what you would do in each of those situations. When you are looking at their cert end date, you'll be looking to see if their cert end date is in the current month or any future month. This would mean that they're still within their current certification period, or if their cert end date was last month, or if their cert end date is old, 2 months old or older. For the terminated child who is in the green section, their cert end date is the last day of this month or in the future. You would choose the transaction type reactivation. Reactivation will make their current certification active again, and then after saving the reactivation, you can go directly to any other twist process: nutrition education, appointment scheduling, issuing benefits, or recertification. For the terminated child who's in the yellow section, where their cert end date is the last day of last month, then you would choose the transaction type recertification. Because their recertification was due just last month, you can go straight to recertification. And then once you complete the recertification, you can issue their benefits. For the terminated child who's in the orange section, their cert end date was the last day of the month 2 months ago or older. Then you'll choose reinstate. This will start a whole new certification period for the child, and you'll need to complete all of the certification tabs before they can be issued benefits. To review, the transaction types you would use for a terminated child would be reactivate for current certifications, recertify for cert periods that ended last month, or reinstate for cert periods that ended 2 months ago or older. Now we'll look at some examples using twist. First, let's look at the green section. The kids who have been terminated and their cert end date is the last day of this month or a future month. This would most likely be a child who's coming in for a recertification appointment but has been terminated, maybe because they didn't get benefits issued for 2 months or because they didn't use their benefits for 2 months. When you first open their enrollment screen, you'll know they're terminated because you'll see the letter D in the top right corner. Their certification dates are grayed out, and there is a term date. We recorded this example in May, and we can see that their cert end date was at the end of May, so they were still within a current certification period. Because their cert end date was at the end of the current month or a future month, they'll be reactivated to make the record active again. Start by clicking on the Change Transaction Type button. Then select Reactivation and click OK. Then save. After you save, if they're due for recertification, you'll see a reminder message. Just click OK. At this point, if you're ready to continue on with their recertification, you'll need to select Change Transaction Type again to select recertification. So to review, that was the child whose cert end date is this month or in the future. You reactivated their current cert before going on to another process, and in this case that was recertification. But keep in mind that you will also use reactivation for other reasons. Anytime a client has been terminated and is in a current certification period, you will need to use Reactivate to make the record active again before you can go on to do other things like schedule an appointment, issue benefits, document notes, or nutrition education. The reactivation part will work in any of those situations. Now we'll move on to the yellow section. For example, a child who's terminated and their cert end date was the last day of last month. This is the rare exception when you have a terminated child and you can go straight to recertification without doing a reactivation or a reinstate first. Once you're in Twist, again you'll see that they are terminated because of the letter D in the top right, the grayed out cert dates, and the term date. Select Change Transaction Type to start. Select Recertification and click OK. And then continue on with the recertification as normal. So to review, that was the terminated child who was due for recertification last month. Their cert end date was the end of last month. And for the last example in Twist, we'll look at the orange section. These are kids who are terminated and their last cert end date is 2 months ago or older. Once you're in Twist, you'll see the same signs that they are a terminated child. And when you see that their cert end date is older than 2 months in the past, you'll know that you'll need to reinstate them to make the record active again. Then after the record is active, you'll need to complete that new certification for them before they can have any benefits issued. So to start the process, select Change Transaction Type. Select Reinstate and click OK. Enter their category and save. At this point, you would complete the income screen and all of the certification screens. It will be similar to an enrollment or a recertification appointment. After you have all the check marks, then they can be issued benefits. To review, that was the orange section. The child was terminated and their last cert end date was 2 months ago or older. You did the reinstate and would complete the certification. It's as if the reinstate takes the place of a very overdue recertification appointment. And that finishes the Twist examples of the different transaction types you might use when you need to recertify a child who has been terminated. Remember, the key is to look at their last cert end date and decide if it's in the future, if it was last month, or if it was 2 months or older. And if you still have questions about transaction types, you can call app support for help at 1-866-865-2953.